if you're truly struggling with these assignments and you don't just have like one thing that you weren't able to do or replicate, I do highly suggest getting our beginner Figma course. In just a couple of hours, it's going to teach you all of these things and how to use them and where they're found and why. But if you're feeling confident, you can easily follow along and these assignments weren't too hard for you, or they were even ridiculously easy for you, then great. If you're just struggling with one thing, I'm gonna go over and kind of solve all of them for you. So this solution video should at least help you find a solution to maybe that one or two things that you were struggling with. So in this first assignment, you can see that we have a reference frame, we have a couple of different shapes. So I'm basically just gonna draw them in here. You can use shortcuts to do that, or you can actually go in here and grab those shapes. So I see that one of the things that you need to do is create a rectangle. As you know from my nudge mount lesson, I use mostly like multiples of 8 to size my item. So in here you can see I used 120. I'm guessing that in here it's probably like 120, 128 based on the size that I have in here. I can always go in here, maybe kind of change this color a little bit and see how big something is and where it's positioned. I'm guessing that maybe this one is then 128. So if you want to get like really the right detail, you can always do so by going and overlapping the elements on the reference frame. But if you're not really worried about that, because those are not actually the important things in here, it's important that you know how to create a rectangle like this one, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. So in here you can see that, and I can also see that there is some kind of a gap in here, and that this item is probably going to be the same distance from the top as from the bottom. So in here I can see it's 96, 96. I can easily use Option or Alt to measure the distances between items, and I know that in here it's 105. So I'm just gonna go in here, and that's gonna be 5 plus 4. So make this bigger by 9. As you can see, I unlocked this just because I didn't want the width to change as well. And yes, we have it correctly set up. So the second thing is this kind of broken off line. Easy to do. I'm just going to hit L on my keyboard, kind of place it in the middle of this frame. I didn't get it 100% correct, so I'm just going to make it 1 pixel smaller. I am holding Shift to ensure that the line stays like really neatly aligned, so I'm not manually like placing it around. I'm holding Shift and positioning it correctly where I want it to be. I do see that that's kind of a bolder option, so maybe something like 4. I can also see that it has a dash, so I'm going to have the treatment in here. It seems like it might be a little bit bigger, and it also has a bigger gap. Again, it doesn't really matter if I get to the absolutely correct number in here, but you can see that I am able to replicate it almost like one by one. And you can also see that these are rounded, so I'm gonna make these, oh, sorry about this, I'm gonna make these rounded as well. So yeah, because this feature was so close in here, it kind of zoomed in on my face. So yeah, you got to see that as well. But yeah, this looks good. The only other thing I can see is that the top and bottom edges in here are different. So the bottom one is the circle and the top one is the diamond. As you can see in here, you can always switch them around if you did them wrong, and also it depends on like how you draw it. If you remember, I drew the shape from the bottom to the top. Okay, so the next thing I have to do is draw a star shape in here. So that's gonna be one thing. I'm not really gonna make sure that it's the same, but it might be. So yeah, that's one thing that I want to do, and now I'm just gonna duplicate it in here, maybe something like this is gonna be fine. Looks like it. Maybe it's not like 100% perfect, but that's not the point. In here, I'm switching it to 6. This one is gonna be 7, and this one is gonna be 8. And then this one is gonna be something like really big. Yeah, maybe something like 20. And it also seems that ratio in here is a little bit bigger. Maybe something like this, but it does feel like it has more of them. Yeah, okay. So something like this should be fine. Then the final thing is using the polygon tool to draw first a triangle. Okay, positioning it in here. We're gonna have another and another. This one is gonna have 5 corners, and this one is gonna have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them. Okay, amazing. And then the final thing is using an oval shape. I'm gonna draw it like this too. It's probably gonna be a little bit bigger. Trying to position it in the middle like this. And now we have to kind of go in here, take the arc tool, and try to replicate the shape that we have in here. So it's probably gonna be something like this, and then also this. So it might not be perfect, but you can see that you can easily create it. If you're able to do so, that's perfect for this assignment. So yeah, we did all of the things correctly in here. In the second assignment, we have a lot more things to do because now we're also playing with colors. So first thing, I'm going to use the star tool to create a couple of these stars. Again, really no need for you to be 100 pixel perfect in here. I'm going to group it so that I can easily position it in here, but then I'm going to ungroup it in here. The only thing that you really need to do is know how to draw a shape like this. So I see that it also has a stroke. I'm going to go into the stroke tool. I'm going to color pick it in here. And I also see some kind of a shadow. So I'm going to do that as well. I think it's probably going to be somewhere around like 20-30%, maybe even more because it's yellow. So it's a little bit harder to see. Good enough. Okay, so these are 3 triangles. They are rotated. So I'm going to take the polygon tool. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. I'm going to add some border radius to it like this. And I'm guessing that it's gonna be rotated. So like this one is maybe somewhere in here. This other one should be in here. As you can see, I'm trying to neatly align them, knowing that I'll probably not get to the right point, somewhere around 20 or 30% rotation. It should be fine. I'm using a minus in here to kind of rotate it in a different direction. I think all of those are fine. The only thing that I now have to do is use a correct gradient. So by analyzing this, I can definitely see that it's most likely going to be a diamond one. And now I want to color pick it like this to get the right shade of red. But one thing I'm noticing I'm not sure if this is a color or opacity. So I'm gonna try to get to that color by color picking from here, and then figuring out if I got it right. So it seems like it's probably going to be somewhere bigger like this, and then the opacity is somewhere around this. So yeah, this feels better already. I'm not going to spend too much time because that's not the point of this task, but the point of this task was to know how to use the rotate tool, know how to use the border radiuses, and know that there are different ways of you to apply a gradient, one of them being a diamond one, and also that you can play with opacity. So if you knew all of those things and you did them correctly, perfect. If not, our beginner course is available to everyone who's struggling a little bit. Okay, so we have the next thing, which is supercharged design. That's probably a little bit bigger. Maybe I went overboard. Somewhere around these numbers, and yeah, it looks like it's bolder like this. I'm gonna center it completely. I think the color of the text is white, and then it has a stroke that goes outside. It's a little bit bigger, something like this. And the other thing is the gradient is also there, and it seems like a radial gradient because you can see it going from orange to red on both edges. So I think it's going to be something like this. I'm going to color pick the orange tone and the red tone in here. And see, oh, that's because there's also one more item here. Okay, perfect. The only other thing is actually making it a little bit rounded like this. Looks pretty similar. Okay. Yeah, I think everything is here, is following the rules that we set up. Maybe just making it a little bit bigger, because I do feel like that's probably the case in here. Okay, so next thing, we have an oval shape. I use the O shortcut in here. It seems like a really simple linear gradient going from hot pink to purple tone, and then over it we have a rectangle that seems to be centered like this. It obviously has a white stroke, so I'm gonna add that, but I think it goes outside. White stroke, okay. And then another thing I have is a shadow. It's a little bit bigger, so I'm gonna play around with shadow settings to get it to a point where it feels okay. It's a little bit lighter, looks good. And there is also one other effect, which is the background blur. So yeah, I think I'm gonna set it to 20 or something. And to actually be able to see the background blur, you're gonna have to use the fill. I'm gonna put it to white, and I'm just gonna make it like 1% or so. So the more you make it, the less opaque it is, but the effect is then less noticeable. So depending on how your project is going, it's probably gonna be something like this. Okay. And then finally, I think we need to play around with layer blend modes by having 3 circles like this. Again, it doesn't matter if they're a little bit too big or something, as long as we get to a point where these feel right. Let me just try to place this one in the middle of the two. I can quickly do it by grouping these and just centering it and then ungrouping these two. So I think all of them are having a multiply on them because the middle tone is almost black. This one is red, this one is green, and this one is blue. Again, I didn't really set them up correctly. I would have to kind of rotate them to get them to a point where they're okay. But again, not a point of this assignment. The point is that, yes, it seems like the multiply is the correct blend mode. And it also seems like these shapes are working together to achieve the same effect. Perfect. And then final assignment is connected to using the pen tool. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to try to create this shape so it feels like it goes like this. I'm holding shift so that they're going in a 45 direction angle, and it also makes it easier for me to align the items as needed. And then finally this one is going to be bigger, and then it seems like there's going to be one point in here and then another point in here. Not 100% perfect, but it's really, really close to what I wanted to achieve. And That's all because I used Shift and like pen tool correctly. I'm gonna make it a little bit bolder. Seems like this might be the right way to do it. Okay, this is the wrong arrow. This is the right one. Yeah. Again, not 100% perfect, but good enough. Then I'm gonna grab this shape. I'm gonna rotate it by holding Shift by 45 degrees like this. And I'm gonna put it into the background so that it doesn't overlay the shape I have in here. I'm gonna make the stroke size a little bit smaller. I'm gonna use the same gray color as in here. And there's one more thing I have to do, and that's using a dash styling. I think it's sharp all the way around, so I'm gonna keep it sharp like that. The only thing is I might make it a little bit smaller like this. And yeah, again, you can really see that the curve in here is a little bit smaller than this one. If I wanted to, I can go inside, kind of hit enter and try to adjust these to get it to a point where it feels more similar. But I'm really happy with how it turned out in just a couple of minutes. And that's it. We tested your knowledge. Hopefully this video is gonna teach you some things that you might have struggled with, or help you analyze different assignments a little bit better, because I am always referencing what's on the reference frame and trying to figure out what's applied there and how I can recreate it. And if you're able to do so quickly, you're more than a beginner in Figma, and you can efficiently use this tool and kind of go through the course without too many hiccups.